So today I'm going to show you how to change spark plugs in a 2007 Yamaha FZ6. You could be doing this because of maintenance, because the plugs have worn out, or you could be doing it like me because you have a misfire. The plugs that I have in there have been in for about 10,000 kilometers, and I think the gap is a little bit too large now after that much kilometers. So I'm going to take them out, try and gap them down, and see if I can extend the life of these plugs. The symptom this bike has is when you're clutching out from a stop in like 1,000, 2,000 RPM, it hesitates. It kind of chugs before it comes on to full power. It's fine, but it's livable, but it progressively gets worse as you wear away the electrode more and more and as the gap increases. Also, it makes it really easy to stall the bike, and it's just not fun pulling away from a stop. So it's free. If we can just gap down the plugs, it'll be free, so hopefully we can solve that problem just by gapping it down. If not, get some new plugs. Those are cheap too. The tools you'll need are a 10mm socket, a 5/8 spark plug socket, a Phillips screwdriver, some bent nose needle nose, and a 3/8 driver, along with spark plug gapping tools. Alright people, so to get started today on the spark plug job on this Yamaha FZ6, we have to get in there to the top of the cylinder head, but obviously you can't get in there because the radiator's in the way among the spark plug leads and some coolant lines. So the first step on this job is going to be to remove the radiator, but to do that you got to get rid of the hoses connected to it. So we're going to start here on the big radiator side on the right hand side of the bike, get a bucket, get some paper ready to drain it because there's going to be water everywhere. On the left side of the bike is where most of the action is. You have two hoses to disconnect. You have your oil cooler hose coming from the bottom of the bike and your upper radiator hose here. Both are just little Phillips, easy to do, don't over tighten them, you can strip them out. Holding in the radiator though is a mount up under here. It's a 10mm, you just need an extension, and there's another mount under the radiator near the header here. You also have to keep in mind that the fan is attached to the radiator, so one thing I like to do is I undo the bolts that hold the fan to the radiator on the bottom one here and on the back over there before I take out the radiator with it, so that I don't have to hold it up while I undo 3 bolts at a time. Taking out the radiator, keep in mind of the little stud the radiator sits on. It holds in by the bolt here, and you just pull it towards you on the left side of the bike to get the radiator out. Once it's out, we got a lot more room. I just got the fan tied up here with some tape to keep it out of the way, but you can clearly see good access to the spark plugs. On the left side is number 4, 3, 2, 1. Although the timing chain's on that side, and that's usually convention that cylinder number 1 be closest to the timing side of the engine, it's the other way around. As in, it's 4 on the right, as in, if you're sitting on the bike, it goes 4, 3, 2, 1. Taking out the ignition coil leads can be really tough, but one good tip to help you get them out is that you can slide down this collar down the ignition coil pencil while it's coming out. So once you get it like part way out of the hole, slip this down a little bit, and it will just give you a little bit more room up against the underside of the battery tray and all that stuff above the motor. If you do that for all 4 going across, it comes out way easier. You don't have to bend around. This is the combination that works for the whole set. It's a short extension and a small 5/8 socket. To get it in though, for this one at the front, you have the grace that you can just drop it in and it goes right in. It's the perfect height for getting your ratchet on there. But some of them over there, you have to drop in the socket first, then the extension. But you just have to have faith that you're gonna get it lined up. You always do. To get the plug out, you want to use the actual pencil coil to get it out. Just with the plug loose, you've already unthreaded the socket, got your extension out. Use the tip of the ignition coil to put it in there, cap the plug, and finesse it out. That is of course if your socket can't grab the spark plug, like the rubber hollow inside of it isn't pulling up the spark plug, you can always use the ignition coil lead to pull out the plug. It's really tricky to finesse number 1 back here, but you can get it. That's the hardest one, but you can get it. You can make some room up there, you make it happen. Whether you're putting in new plugs or just doing maintenance and checking the old ones, it's always a good idea to check the gap. The gap on this plug is supposed to be between 24 and 28 thousandths of an inch. I was getting a misfire at idle and pulling away from acceleration, like really low RPM, like 1,000, 2,000 under significant load clutching out. So I thought the hesitation would be because of the gap, and sure enough it is. These plugs have measured to be about over 30 thousandths of an inch of a gap. That's a lot. That's past 2, 3, 4 thou past the upper limit of what these plugs are good for. I'm just surprised. They last this long, that they last this long at that gap. This is the arrangement I ended with when it's all put back together. It really helps to have the PCV hoses out of the way. It just gives you that much more room. Once you got it filled up to the top, you're ready to start it up. Some neutral. Finally, to bleed the coolant system, you leave the radiator cap off, run the bike for just a little bit to make sure all the air bubbles come out. Once the air bubbles stop coming out, throw the cap back on it, take the bike for a ride, get it up to temp, bring it down, let it cool off, of course, open the radiator cap and check to see if there's any more bubbles that have formed. But if you've done a good job, you don't have any leaks, you shouldn't get any new air bubbles. This job's pretty easy. Spark plugs are pretty cheap. There's no reason why you can't do this at home. Drop a comment in the bottom if you have any questions or trouble. Well, we finished the job now. We gapped down the plugs, took it for a ride, bled the bubbles, and sure enough, gapping down the plugs, it fixed our misfire. So it no longer hesitates. I can probably get another 5,000 kilometers out of the plugs. They are copper plugs, so you can't expect them to last 100,000 like you would with iridium or platinum, but you could get 15, 20,000 kilometers out of them, so that's why me getting 10,000 then getting a misfire wasn't really the plug wearing out, it was more the gap enlarging over time. So, sure enough, my intuition was right, got the plug gapped correctly, and now it should be good for a while. Thanks for watching.